Hello everybody, welcome to Dolly Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm running down my top 10 most anticipated solo board games from Spiel Essen 2024. Wow, that's a mouthful. Now, as you probably know, the largest board game convention in the world takes place in Germany every year. This year it begins on October 3rd, and publishers release hundreds of new games there. Lucky for us, Eric Martin from Board Game Geek puts together a preview list of all of these games. It's a tremendous resource. I'll have a link in the description below so you can check it out. I've gone through the entire list and picked out 10 games that I most want to play solo. Now, I've put a few restrictions on this list. First, I'm not going to mention games like Civolution, Daitoshi, and Galactic Cruise, because those were on my most anticipated games for 2024 list. Go check out that video if you haven't. By the way, Andromeda's Edge just arrived, so that won't be on this list either. I'm also only including games that will be available to purchase at Essen, not just there for demoing. That means Vital Lacerda's next game, Speakeasy, also isn't on the list. Obviously, it would be number one otherwise. Okay, that's everything that's not on the list. How about we dive into what is on the list by starting with my number 10, Dead Cells. Dead Cells is obviously based on the video game of the same name, and according to the description, this is a cooperative roguelite dungeon crawler inspired by Metroidvania games, and it plays in around 45 minutes. Those are a lot of buzzwords that really pique my interest. It's also worth noting that board games based on video games have been absolutely on fire lately. Slay the Spire, the board game, is incredible. I expect a playthrough of that one soon. Obviously, Frostpunk is just incredible, my favorite of the bunch. There's a few others I'm even forgetting here, but things have flipped so much, I'm now excited when a new video game board game comes out. And honestly, the thing that's really putting it over the edge is that this is just an all-star cast of designers, led by Antoine Boza of Seven Wonders and Ghost Stories fame. And at first I was a little worried about this whole 45 minutes business. That seems kind of quick, but you're going to go out there, you're going to explore, you're going to play your cards, and you're going to die rather quickly. And when you die, you get to spin the cells that you've generated by killing these enemies in order to get permanent upgrades, so that on your next run, you're a little bit better. And so that 45 minutes is just one run, and then, you can do multiple runs in a single play session. Upgrading your character and running through that loop sounds like a blast. So there you go. That's my number 10, Dead Cells, the roguelite board game. My number 9 is Galileo Galilei. This looks like a very beige but very interesting Euro game where you take the role of an astronomer who's trying to discover new planets, find unknown star systems, improve your telescope so you can make these scientific breakthroughs. It's a wonderful theme. The cover art is absolutely gorgeous. The rest of the game doesn't quite live up to the cover, at least from the photos I've seen, but there's some really cool sounding mechanisms. Of course, I don't know, but you have some dice building or dice placement going on, or at the very least, you have dice as resources. That might be what's happening here. But you have this cool telescope action selection system that's on your player board. And it looks like you could kind of tilt your telescope up to a certain number of spaces and then take the action of that space. Seems like it's essentially a rondel kind of system. I'm not 100% sure. It also looks like you can improve those actions as the game goes along. And probably the most interesting mechanism here is that you have to be wary of inquisitioners. So you have to be careful that you don't bring too much attention to yourself, or they might come in and ruin it. Obviously very thematic, kind of dark, but I'm always interested in a nice medium weight Euro game with a good theme. So that's my number 9, Galileo Galilei. Number 8 is Shackleton Base, A Journey to the Moon. So from what I can tell, this looks like a fairly heavy worker placement game. Thematically, there's a permanent base being built in the Shackleton crater at the moon's south pole. As players, we're going to be building structures on this base and funding different projects through worker placement with what appears to be different types of workers that have different special abilities. Now, one interesting thing here that's mentioned in the description is that at the beginning of the game, you select 3 different corporations randomly out of 7 available. And each of these different corporations has, unique projects and different actions and scoring opportunities. So it sounds like that's really going to add a lot of variability between games depending on which 3 corporations you select. And as players, we're kind of interacting with those corporations, working with them, funding their projects, getting different resources depending on which corporations we're working with. So I'm curious how that's going to work out and how that sort of plays in practice. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of PAX Premier 2nd Edition. Sounds pretty interesting, and the board and everything, I really like the look of it. So there we go. Number 8, Shackleton Base, A Journey to the Moon. Number 7 is Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age. This is on here for one reason, and that's the designer Stan Kordonski. He's made a bunch of interesting games from Endless Winter to Nova Roma, Resurgence, Rurik, Dawn of Kiev, and Dice Hospital. If you've never played Dice Hospital, that's a really fun play. I have a full playthrough of Endless Winter on the channel, and Nova Roma is coming up. I'm going to have a playthrough of that real soon, hopefully. Great designer, and this appears to be a medium to medium heavyweight Euro game, right in my wheelhouse. And honestly, other than that, I don't know very much. This appears to be a dice drafting and dice placement game. According to the description, you're going to be drafting and assigning dice to a programming board. The lower dice let you go to stronger actions, but higher dice will let you climb these tracks that will give you benefits. So yeah, maybe some like programming involved here as well. A little bit of tableau building, maybe some area control. Seems like there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And I love the look from the few images that I've seen. I love the stark look with all the colorful pieces. There appears to be like a map there in the center and plenty of tracks. So this is right up my alley. Fingers crossed that it has a good solo mode. My number 7, Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age. Number 6 is Endeavor Deep Sea. I'm a big fan of the original Endeavor, either the original or the remake, which I believe was called Endeavor Age of Sail, something like that. This is a follow-up game to that original one, and it looks to be quite a bit different. First of all, I love the nautical theme. This underwater exploration is really cool. I love that as a direction to take this game. And it looks like it's the same designers and creative team behind the original game as well. That's a great sign. And it also says that it's using a streamlined rule set that will be familiar to fans of the original. So that has me intrigued. I'm curious what they've streamlined. The art and the components and the production look amazing. And all that with a solo mode, yeah, I'm just intrigued to try this one out. It looks fantastic. If it's able to capture the magic of the original game, but in a more streamlined fashion, that would be really something. So there you go. That's my number 6, Endeavor Deep Sea. Number 5 is Asian Tigers, A Story of Prosperity. Now, I've been saying this a lot on this list, and I'm going to keep saying it. My interest in this game is 100% because of this design duo. They are the designers behind Madeira and Nippon, 2 heavyweight Euro games that are in my top 100 games of all time. These are just fantastic games. So I'm pretty much interested in anything that they have coming out. This really appears to be a return to form. It looks like a worker placement game where, according to the description, you're going to be building power plants, research laboratories, and establishing factories that will produce resources with the purpose of serving local and international markets. That description really sounds a lot like Nippon to me. It's really bringing that back. The images here of the main board look busy in a really great way. I don't know. I trust these guys to do economic style games. Unfortunately, I don't know much more than that. But there you go. That is my number 5, Asian Tigers, A Story of Prosperity. My number 4 is Ada's Dream. Ada's Dream really captured my attention because, again, it looks like a fairly heavyweight Euro game. And yes, there's a lot of those on this list. I'm sorry. That's the kind of game that gets me most excited. On Board Game Geek, this one's actually showing a weight rating of 4 out of 5. That's extremely heavy, much heavier than it sort of looks. So I don't know how much to trust that number. Probably not that much, but it seems like there might be a lot going on here, kind of a meaty game. Secondly, I love this theme. Obviously, the Ada here is referring to Ada Lovelace, and I guess we are trying to help her build the first computer in a sort of alternate history. So that's a really cool theme, and the artwork is beautiful. I love the look of the board and the player boards. Game's got a really great cover. Just love it. And the third thing that really had me interested is this mechanism of a dice rondelle. There you go. That's number 4, Ada's Dream. Number 3 is Black Forest. Now, I'm a huge fan of Rosenberg's Glass Road. That's a phenomenal game, and Black Forest seems to be a kind of reimagining of that game. There seems to be a lot of similarities, most notably the resource wheels, which are really cool. I love the way those wheels work to allow you to manipulate and move and produce things. It's really cool. Also, the personal player land boards where you're placing out the different buildings, clearing off the forests and whatnot, that all looks very similar. But there are some massive differences. I mean, first and foremost, there's a giant map in the middle of the table now. It looks like the hand of cards that everyone had in Glass Road that were all the different personalities that let you do the different actions, and you would sort of play those out, sort of a simultaneous selection. Those are gone, and they've been sort of put onto this map, and it looks like now we're doing a worker placement and maybe even a worker movement sort of thing. So maybe some similar types of actions, but a slightly different way of taking those actions. Looks fascinating. Again, like I said before, if this can capture the magic of Glass Road and hopefully maybe have like a slightly different feel, that would be fantastic. Now, one thing that's interesting is Glass Road was always an incredibly quick game. Here they have Black Forest as an hour to 2 hours. I wonder if that means if this is like a little bit more meaty, if this has a little bit more going on and is going to take a little longer. I definitely wouldn't be opposed to that. That I think sounds pretty interesting. So I don't know. Can't wait for this one. It's a Rosenberg game, it's got to be on the list, right? That's my number 3, Black Forest. Number 2 is Saltfjord. Just like Black Forest, this is another re-implementation, reimagining of Santa Maria. This is extremely exciting because Santa Maria is a fantastic game. It has this absolutely wonderful dice drafting and dice placement system where you take a die and you place it either in a row or column, and then you activate everything in that row or column. And so you're kind of building out your grid with these different actions. And then as you activate it, you kind of move the die down, and it kind of stops there on that last action, blocking that space a little bit. It's a little hard to explain, but it's a really great system. A fun game, but the problem with Santa Maria is it's really hard to recommend because, one, the theme is not very good. The production, the art, it's just not a terribly attractive package. And so having a new game with a new setting, new theme, better art, this is exactly the kind of game that we would love to see these sort of remakes of. Now, for what I can tell, this might be a pretty different game than Santa Maria. I think it takes that dice placement mechanism and it appears to have some very different mechanisms surrounding it. It looks like here we're in a Norwegian fishing village, and we're going to be like sending out our fishing boat, advancing different technology tracks in order to improve that, then like completing trade orders, erecting buildings. I have really high hopes for this one. As long as they've preserved that dice mechanism, then I know this is going to be a hit. But there you go. That's my number 2, Saltfjord. And my number 1 is SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Now, I didn't realize this when I was making the list, but this is the same designer as Galileo Galilei, my number 9. That's quite incredible. I mean, what a year, having 2 major games coming out. This has been at the top of my anticipated list since I heard about it. Anytime there's a new game from CGE, I'm there. I'm automatically interested. They are a publisher that I trust, that I just love the games that they make. They have a huge hit rate for me. Once again, this is like a medium to medium heavyweight Euro game. And this is just a really incredible theme, taking a kind of scientific approach to the search for life outside of the planet Earth. Looking at actual emerging technologies rather than kind of going off on a sci-fi fantasy kind of realm. Love that. It looks like there's going to be over 200 cards, multi-use, it appears. And the description here just sounds fascinating, where we'll be exploring nearby planets and moons, like launching probes, and their like positions will be changing, and we can decide whether to land on the surface or orbit. We can like direct our telescopes to gaze at distant star systems, search for alien signals or undiscovered exoplanets. I mean, this just sounds so cool. Absolutely my most anticipated solo game of the year. And in fact, it's been a long time since I've been this excited about a new game. That's SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And there you go. That's my top 10 most anticipated solo games that'll be available at Essen this year. Which games did I miss? Please let me know in the comments. And if you liked the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.